The news of this hour begins with a crisis within the opposition People's Democratic Party. It shows no signs of resolution as a faction of the National Working Committee has suspended the acting national chairman, Umar Damagum, and National Secretary Samuel Anyanwu for alleged disloyalty to the party. Earlier, a faction of the NWC aligned with Damagum announced the suspension of the National Legal Advisor, Kamaldeen Ajibade, and the National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, also for alleged disloyalty. In a new twist, Ologunagba, in a statement on Friday, announced the suspension of Damagum and Anyanwu. Meanwhile, the chairman of the PDP Board of Trustees, Adolphus Wabara, had on Thursday called on the National Working Committee to urgently convene a National Executive Committee meeting to address the crisis within the party. To another update this time in Rivers State, the Rivers Assembly crisis. The Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has affirmed Martins Amawule as the authentic Speaker of the Rivers State of Assembly. The Appellate Court, in a unanimous decision by a three-member panel of justices, also validated the Amawule-led members of the Rivers State House of Assembly as bona fide lawmakers of the state. This is coming months after Governor Siminalayi Fubara appealed the judgment delivered by the Federal High Court on January the 22nd, which nullified the 2024 budget of Rivers State on the premise that it was not presented before members of the State Assembly known by law. Our correspondent Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
Another victory for the 27 lawmakers and their speaker, whom Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State had declared their seat vacant. According to the appellate court, Fubara shot himself on the foot when he voluntarily withdrew a counter affidavit he filed to challenge a legal action instituted by the Speaker Amawule-led faction of lawmakers, instituted to be recognized as valid members of Rivers State House of Assembly. The court held that Governor Fubara's decision to present the 2024 Rivers State Appropriation Bill to only 4 out of 31 members of the Assembly amounted to a gross violation of Section 91 of the 1999 Constitution as amended.
Right Honorable Martin Chike Amewule is the authentic Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly, as found by Justice Omotosho, and that the other 26 members are still the valid members of the House of Assembly. And any act done without these persons participating is clearly a nullity.
The number required to conduct the business of the House of Assembly, this has not been done. As claimed by the factional leader, I think this one has ended his tenure as factional Speaker of the House of Assembly. I think that's the end of all these disputations and contestations.
Reacting to the judgment, the Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly expressed his confidence on the law and the court to restore order to the state.
So we are happy that indeed we still have the judiciary that is interpreting our laws the way they should interpret our laws. We are not surprised because we have always said it, that we stand on the path of the rule of law. We will ensure at all times that we keep to our constitution, obey our constitution and the laws of Rivers State.
It will be recalled that the Rivers State Assembly was factionalized owing to the frosty relationship between Governor Fubara and his predecessor, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike.
Again today, the Court of Appeal made it clear that the Governor of Rivers State does not have a budget upon which is governing the states, because the Court of Appeal upheld the judgment delivered by Justice Omotosho, wherein he declared that there is no budget for Rivers State for the fiscal year 2024. What the Court of Appeal has done today is to reaffirm the judgment delivered by Justice Omotosho, and every single matter decided in that judgment by Justice Omotosho was upheld today by the Court of Appeal.
The court also ordered Governor Fubara to pay a fine of 500,000 naira to each of the respondents as damages. In Abuja, for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Meanwhile, the Rivers State government has reacted to the appeal court judgment on Thursday in Abuja on the State Assembly crisis. The state government says the judgment did not reinstate the Martin Amawule-led faction of the State House of Assembly by any stretch of imagination. In a statement signed by the State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice Israel Dagogo Iboroma San in Port Harcourt on Thursday, the government clarified that Amawule and 26 others had defected on December 11, 2023, adding that their seats became automatically vacant from the day they announced their defection from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress to the whole world. The Attorney General insisted that the issue of defection of Amawule and 26 others was never before the Federal High Court and the Court of Appeal Abuja, and therefore no court has legitimized their membership of the House of Assembly on the basis of the defection. We briefly turn our attention to the petroleum sector. Let's tell you that for the second time in 1 month, Nigeria has increased petrol costs, further intensifying economic pressures in a country already facing inflation and widespread hardship. As reported by News Central correspondent Igbalani Omoni, this latest petrol price hike has exacerbated existing economic challenges for Nigerian citizens. Some Nigerians expressed their view on the implications of the new pump price.
Okachi Felix, a former unit supervisor at a major export company in Nigeria, has turned to commercial driving to earn a living after being defrauded of his savings while attempting to travel abroad. Dealing with this predicament amid high inflation and rising food prices is a heavy burden for any Nigerian. However, the challenges do not stop there. Mr. Felix must now pay nearly 1,000 naira per litre for petrol.
We seem not to have any say. Even when you protest, it's not going to work. You understand? So it's a hopeless situation. That's why I'm saying that the level of impunity has taken over a lot of things, because you don't know who you base your hope on.
Nigerians face the harsh realities of another fuel price increase, the second within a month. The latest adjustment raises the pump price to a record high, with costs ranging from 998 to 1,050 naira per litre across regions. This is a steep increase from the 650 naira in early September and 897 naira before the current change. Observations from fuel stations show reduced activity in some, with long queues at other pumps as motorists rush to fill up.
Before, I fill up this car 11,000 naira, but when they change it to 980 something, I fill up with 60,000. But now that is 998, I didn't sure I can buy 60,000 naira again, because I've been here since 5 o'clock. And if there was a old man that said he has been here since 4:30.
Passengers are complaining now because as we are suffering to buy fuel now, you understand? So if you tell them price, if you call price for them, they will be like, I did the one that increased the fuel. This thing. So we are the one the increasing of fuel affecting much. You understand? We are the one going through the pains.
While the May 2023 decision to transition to a market-based pricing model aimed to improve efficiency, the frequent adjustments have prompted debate around the sustainability of the fuel subsidy removal, especially amid soaring living expenses. The end of the NNPCL middleman arrangement between Dangote Refinery and marketers, allowing direct purchases from Dangote Refinery, has led to the latest pump price change, according to reports. As public frustration grows, there is uncertainty about whether the petroleum sector has truly been deregulated.
It appears that every morning people come out and increase. Is that all about governance? We have had agreements on looking at the issue of CNG, the impact on it. Today, it's not there. We have had agreement on the issue of Port Harcourt Refinery functioning. It is not functioning today. And like I said earlier, they said if we deregulate, so that the private sector will come in and participate, it will involve, competition. And when there is competition, the market forces will determine the prices. Now, where does that economic analysis lead us to now?
How the government responds over the coming weeks and months will be critical to navigating the country's near-term economic outlook amid a multitude of domestic and global uncertainties. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Igbalani Omoni.
Meanwhile, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria has threatened to halt operations nationwide due to the high cost of premium motor spirit sold to its members by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. IPMAN on Thursday said the cost of petrol from the Dangote Petroleum Refinery to NNPCL was approximately 898 naira per litre, but noted that NNPCL was selling the same products to independent marketers at 1,010 naira per litre in Lagos. The association, which controls over 70% of filling stations nationwide, has criticized this pricing and threatened to down tools, also demanding a refund from NNPCL for previous petrol supply payments made by its members. This development could further exacerbate the ongoing petrol scarcity and lengthen queues in many parts of the country. Well, joining me now to discuss this is National Public Relations Officer of IPMAN, Chinedu Ukadike. Good morning, Mr. Ukadike. IPMAN mentioned the possibility of halting operations, stopping operations. Can you elaborate on the reasons behind IPMAN's dissatisfaction with the current pricing structure imposed by the NNPCL, aside from the one that's been mentioned now, that NNPCL got it lesser and then selling it at a higher rate to your members?
Yeah, good morning. Thank you very much. I'm the IPMAN spokesperson. I'm the publicity secretary of IPMAN, publicity secretary of IPMAN. And I wish to address like that. But to be able to discuss what you just asked now, I also have to take a reflection of why these indigenous marketers are being established in this country. It was during the time the international organizational company, the IOCs, were in charge of exploring the oil, in charge of refining it. Not only that they're also in charge of, they also were returning it locally. So the proponents of independent marketers, outside them by Olusegun Obasanjo, enacted an edict to be able to establish it, man, to give the indigenous people, a chance to be able to participation in terms of distribution of petroleum products. And the independent marketers have done so well, so well. Those places the IOCs couldn't be able to establish filling stations. We have gone there, we have established filling stations. We are almost 80% spread all over the country. In the looks and cry of this country, there's nowhere you will not see an independent marketer. So we're a strategic stakeholder. We cannot discuss the issue of distribution of petroleum products in this value chain without considering the independent marketers. So when the Dangote Refinery started and this issue of being the sole off-taker, was making rounds, and Dangote publicly said that the federal government will determine its price. It's going to sell to only federal government and the NNPC. We're wondering, what is the essence of the PIA? What is the essence of this PIAP? What is the essence of liberalization of this market? What's the essence of removal of subsidy? If a refinery in Nigeria, 650 barrels per day, single train refinery built here in Nigeria, could not also be able to give the independent marketers, the indigenous marketers, a choice of first refusal, bringing us into offtake their products. We are the indigenous people, we are here. Oh, there is no place in this country you will not see an independent marketers filling station. There is no place, including in Buguma. In Damaturu, where independent marketers are highly spread everywhere. And we resort not to be joining issues by going to strike, because whatever we do will drastically affect the economy of this country. It will drastically affect the economy of this country, and it will impoverish our people, and there will be serious hardship. Our business is service-oriented, and that is why we should be considered in terms of policy making, in terms of implementation. Because whatever you do to independent marketers trickles down to the poor masses, those who come to the filling station to buy petroleum products. We are the last chain in breaking of the bulk of petroleum products.
All right, but Mr. Ukadike,
we are dissatisfied that Dangote, who has offered to be giving us this automated gasoline oil, that's HU. In turn, when there is PMS, that he knows that independent marketers take PMS in more commercial quantity. Now say they are not going to say to us, they are going to say to somebody, and that somebody will say to another person, and then another person will say to another person, that will say to another person, that will say to the independent marketers. And that will bring profiteering.
All right, Mr. Ukadike, I get your point now. So there seems to be a lot of middlemen. That's what you're saying now. There seems to be a lot of middlemen in the process, which should actually be direct. Anyway, if IPMAN decides to go ahead with the strike, as mentioned now, how do you foresee this affecting the availability of premium motor spirit or petrol across the country? And what does the government need to do now to mitigate or stop this strike from taking place? What are your requests?
Well, thank you very much. There was a very serious intervention by the director of the DSS, Mr. Ajayi Adiola. Very fine gentleman, very brilliant, and effectively, diffused all these tensions that were brewing up here and there. We had a very serious meeting with him because he heard about our complaint and invited us. The national president led the members of the National Executive Council to his office. And within a short period of time, he was able to understand the pains of the independent marketers. And he immediately, nipped this strike action from the board. And have also reconciled us with NNPCL. Some measures was taken. And also want to use the opportunity also to thank the NNPCL boss, Mr. Farouk.
So, Mr. Ukadike, sorry to butt in. Just for clarity's sake. So there's no more threat for strike. There's no more strike.
No, we're not going. The director of DSS yesterday intervened, and we reached a conclusion, and some measures are going to take place. He has also resolved that Dangote is going to sell to us independent marketers. He has also resolved that NNPCL will load us out all our tickets that is in their system, so that we can be able to buy from anywhere we want to also buy. He also went out for that to resolve the issue of our money that has been hanging in the Petroleum Equalization Fund, and the head of NNPCL graciously approved the sum of 10 billion naira to be able to pay the outstanding. These are the things that have been lingering for a very period of time. And
all right.
The director of within just 3 hours resolved most of this. So we're no longer going on strike, but we are watching for the implementation of all that we have agreed upon.
All right. Thank you so much for that clarity. I want to say thank you for joining us, Mr. Chinedu Ukadike, spokesperson for the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, conduct of LG elections. Senate blast governors, wants federal governments to withhold allocations. We'll tell you about that story in a moment. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us here on News Now on News Central Television. The Senate has condemned what they term worrying development across the 36 states where the political party in power always wins 100% or 99% of seats each time a local government council election is conducted. The upper legislative body admitted that democracy is at best non-existent at the local government level in the country, calling for urgent actions to rescue the third tier of government. The resolutions came after a motion by Senate Minority Leader Abba Moro, representing Benue South and co-sponsored by other senators. The Senate agreed to initiate an open national dialogue with stakeholders, particularly state governors, and to meet with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Equally notes that the provisions of Section 197 of the said Constitution, together with the third schedule, Part 2 of the Constitution, have been grossly breached, and the said local government elections of 5th October 2024 in Benue State and in some parts of Nigeria were marred by rampant manipulation, thus thwarting the goal of establishing truly representative local governments in Nigeria.
The truth is, this is going to be a serious and difficult issue to resolve. National Assembly alone, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, cannot resolve this. We can do our part, but we must do beyond our part. We can say, okay, let's try to say INEC should do. But is that the solution? No. Even INEC, in some states, people complain about INEC, but at least the complaints are less.
Also take seriously, but the faster the better. I want us to conclude on all these constitutional amendments, electoral amendments, and then look at ensuring full autonomy for state assemblies, ensuring financial autonomy for local governments. If we can achieve those things under the administration of President Bola Ahmed Chinedu, then we would have been able to set the democratic process on the right track. And I think that should be our commitment. So observe what they are doing, because this one is akin to somebody sitting down to do caretaker committee and then using the name of election to cover it.
Let's now tell you that Governor Caleb Mutfwang of Plateau State has sworn in 15 members of the People's Democratic Party in Plateau State that have so far been announced winners of the October 9, 2024 chairmanship local government election in the state. Swearing them in after they had taken their oath of office, the governor urged them not to abuse the trust of the people of Plateau reposed on them, but join hands to move the state forward. News Central's Chizoba Nyongwe reports that the returning officer for the 17 local government areas in the state, Plangji Sichka, had announced the results Thursday evening at the Plastic head office in Jos. The Plastic boss, who said results of the remaining 2 local government councils are still being awaited, added that winners of the election satisfied all the necessary requirements in the keenly contested exercise. 2 results from Pakshin and Langtang North local government areas are still being awaited.
I therefore welcome you on board to join me in leading Plateau State to a new level. That together we will join hands and work for the benefit of our people. We are going to ensure that you have a peer review mechanism that challenges you to give your best. And I can assure the people of Plateau State that we are not going to allow the local governments to be shortchanged.
Well, let's move on now to the next story. The House of Representatives has called for the review of Nigeria's justice sector in order to restore public trust in the judiciary. Lawmakers also mandated its Committee on Constitutional Review to organize public hearings aimed at addressing the delays in justice delivery. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu has more in this report.
It's the last plenary for the week on the floor of the House of Representatives, with several deliberations taking center stage. Federal lawmaker Ganiu Ayuba, who raised the first motion on the floor of the House, called for the need to review the nation's justice system, expressing concerns over the lengthy court cases that have taken years to resolve. He says they undermine public trust on the judiciary and slow down democratic and economic progress.
In some states of the Federation, cases at the High Court, which by their nature ought to be dispensed within months, last between 4 to 5 years before judgment is delivered. The House further worried that situations where suspects languish in detention for years awaiting trial, where chieftaincy cases lasted for years in court, leaving communities without head, and where commercial litigation span years in court unresolved, they are bane to our democratic and economic growth.
Prisons that were built or correctional facilities that were built to take, for example, 100 persons in the 70s, where facilities have not been expanded till today, have thousands of people languishing in them. And Mr. Speaker, of the number of persons in our correctional facilities, I can say without any form of doubt that over 60 to 70% are people who are awaiting trial. Some of them are in the correctional facilities for a period that is even longer than the time they would have been convicted for if they were eventually found guilty of such alleged offenses. And by the principle of our Constitution, every person is adjudged innocent until proven guilty.
Previously, you have cases, electoral cases, lingering up to 3 years. So there is no time better than now for this motion to be given as a rated hearing and passed, because people are suffering.
The House also urged the federal government to enforce the Export Prohibition Act 2004 to tackle food smuggling and improve food security.
The House is also concerned that the food smuggling and exportation is a major driver of the current food insecurity, with large quantities of food products smuggled out of the country, consequently undermining agricultural output and threatening the livelihood of farmers.
Is to mandate the Ministry of Works Committee to ascertain the causes of the incessant building collapse and provide lasting solution to curb the menace of, and report back to the House within 4 weeks.
Also, the House of Representative Committee on Federal Polytechnics also directed the rector of the Federal Polytechnic Bidda in Niger State to appear before the committee over matters relating to the oversight in the institution.
Though you owe the full authority of your institution, but it will have been better if you were here with your team rather than you being here alone, because I'm sure is what your visitation here today is going to be is that there will have to probably be a continuation of this exercise, because I'm sure we're going to come up with questions that even if you can answer them, you don't have documentary evidence to back them up.
So when I got the message from Chairman Kofa that they have been able to make an easier arrangement and that we should come here, beginning with Bida and Wanune, I saw the importance and the integrity of this committee. So rather than write a letter last night, I decided to take excuse from there to come here physically to request that we be taking probably tomorrow or next tomorrow when the Bossa and other teams would have finished with the accreditation team, and we will all be here again.
The committee's planned engagement with another polytechnic in Wanune, Benue State, was also postponed due to the non-appearance of the institution's rector. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Girls' rights advocates have called on citizens to ensure that girls in Nigeria are given the right conditions to thrive in the country. This was as the She Forum Africa held an adolescent town hall and mentorship day session in Abuja in commemoration of the 2024 International Day of the Girl Child. News Central's Joshua Ibarayi reports.
The event is organized to mark the 2024 International Day of the Girl Child by the She Forum Africa. The session saw the convergence of girls from the 6 area councils of the Federal Capital Territory. Girl Child advocates at the event called on government and relevant stakeholders to create an enabling environment by strengthening institutions to enable the girl child achieve their full potentials.
What we're saying is girls' dreams and aspirations are as much of a priority as that of the boys. Girls represent a key and central factor in growth and development processes, and so they have to be harnessed early, they have to be groomed early, they have to be supported early to reach their full potential.
We continue to make advocacies to government to create an enabling environment by strengthening institutions to accommodate you and your peculiarities. We will continue to tell the public to accept you and give you opportunities that are yours.
I think that if every sector in Nigeria actually focuses on investing on the girl child within and without her family, in her schools, in her communities, we end up investing in families and we make sure that our female gender can contribute to the nation.
Others in attendance encouraged girls to aim for leadership position and follow their aspirations.
Every girl is unique, and they should have a very safe and conducive environment to thrive and to realize their potentialities. Not even potentialities, their full potentialities as members of the society.
We want girls to have a vision to be anything that they want to be, and they can do it, and to also work towards it.
Advocates at the event say empowering Nigeria's girl child requires concerted effort to address systemic gaps in education, mentorship, and provision of adequate resources to foster an inclusive environment for growth. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
The Northeast Development Commission, I beg your pardon, has initiated discussions with transport unions, including NATO and NURTW, to explore the potential for deploying e-mobility solutions across Nigeria's northeastern states. This partnership aims to address transportation challenges while promoting sustainable practices. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes more in this report.
The price of premium motor spirit, popularly known as petrol, keeps increasing in Nigeria. This is unbearable in addition to the climatic consequences of using petrol. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu approved the deployment of e-mobility to tackle some of the teething problems in the northeast. These talks between NEDC and transport unions, including NATO and NURTW, focuses on operation management and effective strategies for deploying electric public transport.
Our plan is end of day to deploy about 10,000 with recycling, which will go a long way in covering the northeast, and that will reduce the cost of transportation and so on and so forth.
The leadership of NATO and NURTW in the 6 states of the northeast expressed their readiness to adapt to the new technologies and enhance their services.
Once I have the larger population, they can use buses that carry 40 passengers. But like we in Gombe, we don't have that kind of people down. So I think maybe 18-seater buses, is there any provision for that one?
We would like you to come up with trucks for conveying interstate, because buses are also interstate and small vehicles are for within the state, but to convey goods and a big, very giant project is going to be by trucks.
We are welcoming this decision. And we promise we will give the maximum cooperation to see this program success.
This partnership aims to facilitate a robust framework for integrating electric vehicles, potentially transforming the transportation landscape in the northeast.
Arrange for the training and so on and so forth. And in the right time, we are going to constitute a small committee within ourselves, the commission, the 2 unions, and any other body that need to be involved. Because we are also going to call some other stakeholders to make it a holistic approach.
The collaboration is said to pave the way for comprehensive infrastructure development strategies and training programs to ensure a smooth transition to e-mobility. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
There is a need for young people to leverage technology as it will help social entrepreneurs access information, collaborate, make data-driven decisions, and mobilize resources for social impact. This was the position of experts at the Breakfast Dialogue organized by the Action Coronation Trust, ACT Foundation, which was held Thursday in Lagos. News Central's Omolola Ololade tells us more in this report.
Africa's developmental challenges are daunting, hence the need for government and non-governmental organizations to leverage emerging technologies to provide solutions to Africa's challenges and make social change in the continent. To build sustainable development and bridge the technology access gap, the Aspire Coronation Trust Foundation organized a breakfast dialogue for young entrepreneurs who are willing to make societal changes within their communities. The CEO of ACT Foundation, Osai Alile, harped on the rationale behind creating the Innovation Challenge for young entrepreneurs to leverage technology in bringing innovative solutions to Africa's local problems.
I think we all need a platform, especially in the social sector. We've done a lot of us have done work for years, but we need a platform that is like a bridge to bring in the different sectors in, so we can find partners to come about with collaboration and to become valuable to the society. So I think that ACT has been able to create that platform and that bridge for people. Collaboration is key, but policy is also good. And for us to start thinking about how can we also begin to influence policies as well that is beneficial to the entrepreneurs. So I feel that once they know that, then it's easier for them to continue to do this kind of work that they do.
And I think that ACT Foundation has gone beyond the concept of just giving people money for the sake of doing impact, but also trying to make sure that the people that they are giving money are healthy enough to be able to run impactful programs, are knowledgeable enough to be able to find other partners and stakeholders that can make the impact a lot stronger, and are also smarter enough to understand what sustainability means and how they can drive a long-lasting impact program, even post the funding part for ACT Foundation.
Some of the beneficiaries of the innovative challenge commended ACT Foundation for the laudable initiative. These beneficiaries appreciated the organization for helping them create opportunities to use technology to create solutions that expand access to education, healthcare, and social services.
The vision of our foundation is to ensure that individuals have a better life or a second chance at life, and ACT Foundation is making that possible by collaborating with us and ensuring that we are able to proceed with our visions and our visions that we have. So it's more of making use of technology to spread this information and make sure that everyone across Nigeria gets to know of Better Life Foundation and have access to the products or services we are offering. Yeah.
I will first commend them for the great initiative for bringing out such opportunities to showcase change makers. It's a great one because through the Talk Human Rights, we are leveraging technology to strengthen human rights and support victims, link victims to case management organizations and help them to get justice. So the fact that we are selected among the 10 finalists demonstrates the fact that we are doing a great work in using technology to fight human rights abuses.
For inclusive development to be sustainable, experts believe government and non-governmental organizations, including individuals, must create enabling environment for creativity to thrive and in turn impact the economy. In Lagos for News Central, I am Omolola Ololade.
Thanks for staying with us. In Central Africa, the appeal process has begun following a trial in which 37 people were sentenced to death for what the army described as a failed coup attempt in the Democratic Republic of Congo. A total of 51 people went on trial in September in the DRC over the alleged May coup plot, during which armed men attacked a minister's home before heading to presidential offices. Among the 37 sentenced were 3 Americans as well as a Belgian, Briton, and Canadian, all of whom also held Congolese nationality. The alleged plot was led by Christian Malanga, a Congolese man who had become a naturalized American, and was killed by security forces. Let's head to South Africa, where the National Prosecuting Authority has decided not to prosecute any of the suspects implicated in the controversial Palapala case following thorough investigations. The investigations stemmed from a criminal complaint filed by the former head of State Security Agency, Arthur Fraser, with the South African Police Service in June 2022. The complaint laid against President Cyril Ramaphosa pertained to the theft of a large sum of US dollars from the president's Palapala farm in February 2020. The investigations also examined potential contraventions of the Income Tax Act 58 of 1962 and the Exchange Control Regulations 1961. This followed the break-in and theft of an undisclosed amount of US dollars at Palapala Farm. Meanwhile, the African Transformation Movement has expressed its rejection of the NPA's decision not to prosecute. To discuss this further, I'm being joined by Zama Nchona, National Spokesperson for ATM. Good morning and welcome to News Now.
Good morning to you and the viewers.
Great. Now, what was the ATM's initial reaction to the NPA's decision not to prosecute individuals involved in the Palapala case?
Well, for us as the African Transformation Movement, just our initial reaction is that actually make public your findings. Give us the information that you have, which you claim that which you claim that gives you an outcome that says there is no winnable case here. Because as far as we are concerned and the laws of this country are concerned, it is very clear that there is not just prima facie evidence, but there are admissions of the president and clear laws that were actually broken. Take Section 34, subsection 1 of PRECA. It is very clear that any criminality, theft included, which includes money over 100,000, must be reported to a DPCI office. So the president, in his own affidavit, yes, did say that there was 580,000 US dollars in his fund. So if which was stolen. Now that the case was there and they went after the criminals, why is it that there is no winnable case? Because even by the admission of the president, he did not report the matter. In fact, he says, I reported the matter to my head of security detail, Mr. Rode. Now, even if he says Mr. Rode should have taken the matter forward, go to section 34, subsection 4E. It gives you, in the event that the reporting does not happen by delegation, who is the individual who should be held accountable. It says, section 34, subsection 4E is very clear that the owner of the facility is the one who should actually account. When issues of this nature are at a point that there is nobody who has actually who has actually reported. So for us as the African Transformation Movement, we're very clear on this matter, that on this matter, there is no way that you can come to that conclusion. But it is not the only law which was broken. If you go and you look at the FICA Act, the FICA Act under Section 28 stipulates that any cash transaction exceeding 25,000 must be reported to the Financial Intelligence Center. The president, by his own admission, violated this law, as we all know and I've already stated. But maybe the last one would be the issue of the Reserve Bank's exchange control regulations. Even by that law, when you have foreign currency, you must declare it to the Reserve Bank. And if you have not done so within a stipulated amount of time, which is 30 days, then you are in violation of the law. Now, the NPA must tell us, how did they arrive at that conclusion? Because any of these laws that I've stated above were easily broken. And next to that, there were admissions by the president himself that he actually violated these laws. So what do they mean when they say there is no winnable case?
All right. I want to say thank you so much for clearly explaining and putting it into clear context, especially for the benefit of our viewers. Thanks so much for joining us. The third African Monetary and Economic Sovereignty Conference continues in Addis Ababa, bringing together academics, policy makers, and thought leaders from across Africa and beyond to discuss pathways to economic sovereignty for the continent. Day 2 of the conference delves into critical issues of climate change and debt restructuring. News Central's business correspondent, Petrol Peter, has more on this report.
It's day 2 of the African Monetary and Economic Sovereignty Conference. And today, it is expected that participants and panelists will be able to draw a nexus between climate change, debt restructuring, and economic sovereignty. But the question is there really a connection between these three? We'll find out.
Africa's inability to invest in the building blocks of development and prosperity is because our fiscal policy space has been consumed by external debt, external borrowing. And when you zoom in and look at the real sources of external borrowing, you find structural economic entrapment that has colonial roots.
And so the restructuring of debt would be much easier if we had different systems, different frameworks from which we are restructuring. At the moment, it's only one system run by the IMF and the World Bank and the creditors, and that's not good for countries in Africa, for instance.
These and many more statements like it startled some participants.
The failures of the leaders on the continent of Africa, shouldn't we address that first before we begin to talk about whatever is happening outside of our control?
However, the panelists seem to have answers.
African borrowers borrow sometimes 8, sometimes 11 times the rate at which the European or advanced nations borrow. So in as much as we go to borrow freely, but we are treated in a way that is actually unfair and biased against us.
We were supposed to be the continent or the place for cheap raw materials for the industrialized world. We still play that role today. Number 2, we're supposed to be the consumers of technologies and industrial output from the global north. We still play that role today. And most importantly, we're supposed to be the place where obsolete technologies, assembly line manufacturing that is no longer needed in the industrialized world is outsourced to us under the label of development, cooperation, or job creation. But effectively, it locks us at the bottom of the global value chain.
Is there a way forward?
The solution to getting out of these traps happen to be not only solutions that help us develop and get rid of the sources of external debt, but all of the solutions are actually climate solutions. So that is investing in food sovereignty and agroecology. That is a climate policy. That is also a policy to the root cause of external debt. And number three, most importantly, Pan-African green industrial policies to use the critical minerals that we have, to use the labor force that we have, which is the youngest labor force on the planet, the complementarity of our resources and capabilities to manufacture and deploy clean energy infrastructure, clean cooking infrastructure, clean transportation infrastructure. All of this is real economic transformation to get out of the colonial traps, but it's also climate solutions.
Does it seem to you like these conversations seek to absolve African leaders of any wrongdoing or responsibility? Well, I thought so too, but what I do know is that there is a need for balance. So, African leaders must take responsibility, develop their economies, because it is only when they do that that we can see the economic sovereignty that we desire. From Addis Ababa, for News Central, I am Petrol Peter.
Fantastic coverage there. Well, that's all that we have for you for this hour on the news. But before we go, let's remind you of some of our major stories. PDP crisis thickens as National Working Committee factions suspend National Chairman, Secretary and others. IPMAN has criticized NNPCL over fuel price hike and puts a stop to any strike. We also told you that appeal process has begun for 37 sentenced to death over failed coup attempt in DR Congo. You can always watch us live. We're on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and always stream live on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Joe Hanson. Good morning.